What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ZFever. For the second part of today's demo, we're going to be talking about Nanomesh and how we can use it to automate some procedural things, or a procedural way to automate things for whatever purpose that you need it to serve, right? So we're going to be talking about how to create nanomesh brushes, and we're going to be talking about how to apply them to models. In this case, I've created a hairbrush, so to speak, that I was able to distribute across a series of polygons to create, kind of a stylized hair. Yes, it is Sarah Jessica Parker. That was all of my reference. Um, so, what is Nanomesh good for? Well, it's good for a lot of things. There's tons of stuff you can do with it. For instance, if you head over to the Z Classroom, there's this really cool discussion about it made by Joseph Drust, and he talks about how to use it to create a building, right? And that's pretty much how I did this. I created this with some nanomesh and with surface noise, believe it or not. And so there's a ton of stuff that you can do with this, and using this with the Z modeler, the sky's the limit with the things you can do. So let's talk about the basics of it before we get too much further. So I'm gonna create just a plain 3D, right? And where did you go? I don't know where it went. Seems to have disappeared. I think ZBrush is going crazy on us. Yep, we're gonna restart. Anytime ZBrush just kind of does something crazy for you, just restart it. There's no sense in trying to sort out what happened. You're just gonna end up wasting time. So just gonna create a new document, adjust the range down, and we're just gonna create a plane, draw this out, and make it a polymesh 3D. So what Nanomesh does is it uses a surface to distribute topology across, right? And so the simplest way to explain it is that if we take another object, so let's just create, let's just grab a cylinder, right? So I'm going to grab this cylinder. I'm going to get it out of perspective. I'm not sure that it actually matters. I'm going to make it a polymesh 3D, and I'm not going to make any adjustments to it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to make it a nanomesh brush. So I'm going to do this. It's created a nanomesh brush. And what will happen is once I go back over to this, um, Nanomesh should already be on. So if I activate my Z remesher, turn that on, or Z modeler, my bad. And if I just turn on insert nanomesh, then it should draw out the topology. Let's go back over. So I'm just going to go brush. I'm just going to create an insert mesh, and then from that I'm going to say new brush, create nanomesh brush. So that's the steps that you need to do. You actually have to create a new insert mesh brush, and then turn it into a nanomesh brush. So from here, now everything is set up to go. So I can just draw this out, and you'll see that it's gonna apply to that single surface that I drew out. Okay, but let's say I wanted to throw a series of these down. I can either draw them out individually, or I can use Nanomesh to get things around. So what I could do is I can say, okay, I want to do a random distribution, right? And it's just going to it's going to do all of them on top of each other. Or I can select a series of polys that I want to throw these across and draw this out, and you'll see that it just kind of throws these things down. Now, you can make some adjustments. You can change the alignment to the normal, right? I can control the rotation of this. So if I go Y rotation, it's not really doing anything. But if I adjust the X rotation, you see that that changes, right? I can also adjust the length of these objects. I can adjust the length variable, right? I can change the width. I mean, there's any number of things I can do, and it can vary it quite substantially. I can change the offset, right? So this is good if you're just trying to create some random stuff. But it's also good if you have something in mind, right? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna make a strand of hair, and we're gonna apply it to that horse that I had loaded up just a moment ago. So I'm just gonna go grab that model real quick. Okay. I'm gonna fill this the basic material. All right. So I want to get this set up first. So I'm gonna turn off all this crazy hair. And we're just going to be working on this here. I'm going to duplicate it actually. Solo this out real quick. I'm going to drop down in subdivision levels because I don't need all that information. And so what I want to do is I want to focus on a specific area. So I'm just going to grab some polygons. So let me grab this mask lasso, and I'm just going to grab these polys here. Bring it on up. And that should be good. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to convert this to its own polygroup, right? And then I'm going to delete higher because this is a duplicate, and I'm just going to use a surface and I don't need all that other information. And I'm also going to just delete that other portion of the horse. So I'm going to go down to modify topology and delete hidden. Okay, so I've got my horse sculpt, and then I've got the placeholder that I'm going to be using for the hair. Okay, so what I need to do is I actually need to build it. All right, so I'm going to come over to the cylinder. I'm going to use this primitive, and we want to make some adjustments to it before we do anything. So I'm going to come down to the initialize drop down, and I want to change some of these parameters because I don't need all of this information. I'm going to change the vertical divisions to, let's try 8, because I do want to put a little bit of a twist onto it. My height, let's see, let's change this down to, let's do 8, maybe 12. Okay, so we're going to use 12 spans on that way. Okay, so we're going to use this, and we're just going to build kind of an asymmetrical strand of hair. Okay, so what I want to do from this point is I'm going to make this a polymesh 3D, and then we're going to make some adjustments to it. So I'm going to be working completely asymmetrically, and all I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be masking off verts and moving them around. So with my transpose line, I'm just going to start moving stuff. I'm actually going to squash this a little bit. And the purpose of this is to create kind of a lock of hair, or that way we can stylize it a little bit, and maybe save us some time down the road. Move that around. And you don't really need too much, because what's going to happen is once we do a dynamic subdivision on this with some creases, then it's going to change some things dramatically. So I want to do that, and then I also want to do some scaling on this. But before I go and do that, I want to work with my Z modeler and apply some creases. So I'm just going to go crease, edge loop partial, and it's fine if it connects up there. It's better than going through and doing each individual little line. So we go through, grab that. I'll actually apply that there. Apply one there. And then I'll also apply one at the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to come back through and then just do a single edge and hold Alt and get rid of these. Then I'm just going to hit D on the keyboard for my dynamic subdivision. Just to see how it works out. Okay, that's fine. Squash this a little bit more. And then I'm going to use my transpose. Stretch this a little bit. And I'm going to come down to my deformation tab, right? And see what we can do to kind of taper and twist this a little bit. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a taper, right? And let's Stretch it out a little bit more. Now I don't want to go too far, because if you go to too much of a point, then it's going to create problems. Now I'm going to give it a little bit of a twist. Let's see. There we go. And so we can do that. We can also apply a bend if we wanted to. And so we'll call that good. And this is what we're going to end up using for our Nanomesh brush. Okay, so I think this is probably a good angle. Just consider that however you make this insert mesh brush is how it's going to be drawn out initially. It doesn't mean that you can't change it once you're in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create an insert mesh. I'm going to make a new one. Okay, and then from here I'm going to go back up to brush and go create nano mesh brush. Okay, then we're going to go back up to our horse model. Wherever the heck that went to. There we go. Okay, and we're going to be working on this piece here. Okay, now you'll see that I already have my Z modeler is on, and what I can do is I can apply this to all polygons. I'm going to turn off symmetry because I don't need that. And so if I hold spacebar, I can either apply it to a single poly, or I can apply it to all polygons. What I'm actually going to do is just for the sake of diversity, I'm going to select out a few of these areas so I can break it up a little bit. So I'm going to turn that into a polygroup. And I'm going to turn that into a polygroup. And by doing this, we can add some variation, right? So I can say, all right, for this one, I'm going to apply this to all I'm going to apply it to polygroup all, right? And so what will happen is whenever I do this, I'm going to draw this out, and you're going to see that I have all these hair strands, right? And they're kind of all facing in all sorts of different directions. And so what we want to do is we need to come down to our Nanomesh dropdown, and we need to get this situated so that things are facing the right way. All right, so I'm going to go down to alignment. I want to align it to the normal, okay? And then from here I can control the rotation. So let's see. We can control it that way. Okay, so everything's kind of facing outward. And then I probably want to adjust the Z rotation. Maybe not. We want to play with the offset. And you're just going to have to play around with these parameters because every single time that you use it, if it's on something that's not a flat surface, it's going to change. I can control the length, I can control the size. There we go. And it just takes time. There we go. Now I do want to adjust this back down. So I'm not going too crazy with it. Okay, so then from here, what we can do, let's increase this size a bit. Let's change some variation to the length, right? And we can even randomize it a little bit. So let's say I don't want just these hairs, right? What if I want to apply some random distribution? Well, I can do that, and I can really fill this up, right? So keep in mind that every single one of these is going to register. And if you have something that's highly dense, it might not be the best thing for you to throw it on here. So just watch your poly count. You can also do a random seed, and this will help things a bit, right? We're going to get this applied here pretty soon. I'm going to change the length. Okay. All right. And so what we'll do at this point is, let's say, okay, this is what I've decided that I want. Okay. Then I'm gonna come down to this inventory. Now there are different ways to do this, but all I'm gonna do is go down to inventory, and I'm gonna say one to mesh. Okay. And this is gonna take those and it's gonna convert them to that mesh. And then I'm just going to isolate these and go up to split and split hidden. Okay, so now if I turn off solo, I've got all these individual hairs, and I can apply a dynamic subdivision to it. Okay, and then I can shape these. Okay, so if this is something that's interesting to you, you can take this, mask things off, and just move things around, right? Continue shaping. Now it's going to depend on the dexterity of the model that you have. You can see that things are starting to fall apart a bit, but you can easily see that you can take this information, throw it out there, and work with it very quickly. Then I can do a dynamic subdivision, and maybe I want to widen these a bit. It just depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And then I could take this same information, and I went through and I made all all those variations on the polys, but I don't necessarily need to do that because I can just take this, hold control with my move transpose, hold control, click this middle button, and then I can move this around and it's just going to add to it, right? And I can take each one of these and apply variation to them as well, right? So if you're looking for a steed with wind-blown hair, here's a way to do it. And then I can just continue the same thing, right? And then you can see how things are kind of getting flattened out. What I can do is come back through with, say, my inflate brush and add some volume to them. It's pretty simple. And so, through stuff like that, you can go through and make hair. You can do the same thing with like a human head or something like that. But something else you can do is with that same brush that I made, I can control a few things. So I can go back and let's say I just wanted to draw these out by hand. So I can come back over to this cylinder, and I can continue using this. So I'm just going to make a Polymesh 3D out of this one. And we're going to do something similar. I'm just going to take this, shape it around, and just like we did before, I'm going to shape these things out and move them around, apply some creases. And you can have a series of these. We're just going to make a insert mesh brush. So that's good. And what I can do with this is we'll do the same process. We'll go through and apply some creases to this. So I'm just going to go Z modeler, crease edge loop partial. Doesn't matter, it's going all the way through. Then I'm just going to come back through and get rid of these creases up here on the top. And on the bottom. Okay. And then what I'll do is I want to divide these up into polygroups. So I'm just going to grab my select rectangle. I'm I'm going to turn this into a polygroup, and then I'm going to turn this portion into a polygroup. And I need to have 3 separate polygroups for this to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to geometry, and I'm going to go unweld groups borders. And what this is going to do is it's going to look at these groups and it's going to unweld just like it says. So I'm going to go unweld groups borders. You're going to see the polygroups change. It doesn't really matter. And what happens is it basically splits those verts. See? And the way that this is useful is that now I can come through and I can say I want to make an insert mesh brush. So I'm going to go create insert mesh. I'm going to make a new one. Okay. And then what I can do is if I bring over the stroke palette, I can go up to curve, and I want to turn on curve mode. Okay. And then I also need to come down to curve functions or curve modifiers. Let's also bring over the brush palette, because we're going to need to use the brush palette in conjunction with the stroke palette. So underneath the brush palette, we're going to have to go down to modifiers. We need to make sure that triparts is on. We're going to want to say weld points, and you can adjust this resolution as you see fit. You can tell it to stretch if you want it to. And so basically what happens, let's test this out real quick and see what happens. So you'll see that now we have this brush that is behaving somewhat like the model that we were using, right? And so what I can do with this is I can bounce back and forth between these modifiers and the stroke palette. So if I go down to curve modifiers, go to size, if I activate the size, I can change this graph here. So if I flip it in the vertical, I can change what the size is. So basically what it's doing is at the very beginning of the stroke, it's going to be larger, and then it's going to change until it goes down to a point, right? And so we can test this out, just draw this out, and you'll see that now we have something that is kind of like a strand of hair, or stylized strand of hair, if you will, right? And so I can save this out. I already have a series of these, so I'm not going to save this one. But I can use this. I still have it activated. So if I go back over to my horse, right, I can delete this, or I can just turn it off. And from the same model, now I can use this brush that I have, right? And I might want to adjust the size. Now it's going to try and lock it to the surface. So if you want to turn off surface snapping, you want to come up to the stroke palette and turn off snapping. And this will allow me to pull things around and adjust them. I can play with this curve to whatever end that I need to, right? So it really just depends on what your stylistic goals are. But then even with this thing, I can say, okay, that's what I want. And from here, I can either continue drawing these out, or I can just duplicate these, right? And you know, for each duplication, I can go through and make adjustments as necessary, right? So I can add some variation. I can do an inflate. The sky's the limit, right? And so it really just depends on what your goals are, and I can continue going about this all day long. I'm gonna isolate that. Apply rotation. And so you just basically go around and just build up and build up and build up volume. So this is an alternative if you don't want to use Nanomesh and you just want stylized hair. So it wasn't really a planned demonstration, but I figured I might as well show you anyway. So by doing stuff like that, then you can end up making stuff like this fabulous horse here. So I hope this has been helpful. Hopefully, it helps you with some of your projects. I know I've had questions from people about how to do stylized hair, and this is one way to do it. And you can even get down there even further and use, say, a curved tube brush and get even further. So, let me know if this was helpful. If you have further questions about it, definitely let me know. You can definitely use that nanomesh to apply various things. You can use it for eyelashes, whatever in the world it is that you need to do. I mean, you can do pretty much anything with it, whether it's making a building or whatever. Okay, so hope this has been helpful, and have a great day, guys. Take care.